The US numero uno laid another wildcard late last night. Shortly before this post, Trump ordered thousands of US troops out of Germany in a spat. And despite growing pressure to reach a lasting deal with Iran, he sees little reason to fold, rejecting Tehran's latest proposal to end tensions.
They're not coming through with the kind of deal that we have to have, and we're going to get this thing done properly. We're not going to leave early and then have the problem arise in 3 more years.
Negotiations are not about us accepting what they dictate, not about us accepting what they want to impose with threats. This is not negotiation. This is the acceptance of an imposition.
Trump says he holds all the cards, but some European allies say he's got nothing to play. This was the German chancellor earlier this week.
I cannot see what strategic exits the Americans are now opting for, especially as the Iranians are obviously negotiating very skillfully, or rather very skillfully not negotiating. An entire nation is being humiliated by the Iranian state leadership.
3, 2, 1, go!
In a punishment for those remarks, the US has now announced it'll be withdrawing 5,000 US troops stationed in Germany. And when asked if other European allies might face the same, Trump said,
Yeah, I probably will. Why should I? Look, why shouldn't I? Italy has not been of any help to us, and Spain has been horrible.
60 days in and the cracks are showing at home too. It's after this time period, by law, a US president must receive approval from Congress or cease hostilities. Some within Trump's own party had said they might need to reconsider their support after 60 days. The Trump administration is arguing the rule doesn't apply, as the war in Iran ended with the ceasefire in early April.
The administration has been undertaking hostilities or the threat of hostilities throughout the ceasefire period by implementing a blockade of Iranian ports. That in and of itself means that the war powers resolution clock, even under the administration's own theory, shouldn't have paused or terminated.
And this is what that ceasefire looks like in Lebanon. The Israeli military released this video showing what they claim is the targeting of positions belonging to the militant group Hezbollah in the south. Israeli soldiers plant their flag on the pitch of a football stadium in one of the many Lebanese border towns they've destroyed. Less than an hour's drive away in the city of Tyre, this hospital is struggling to treat the high numbers of wounded civilians. Sana survived an Israeli drone. Her legs did not.
In the morning, my husband, my daughter, my son-in-law and I went out to work in a banana plantation. At around 10 o'clock, we were hit by a drone. It knocked us off our feet and I lost my consciousness.
On the ground today, the ceasefire Trump points to looks increasingly fragile. Israel and Iranian-backed Hezbollah are still trading fire. And with US-Iran talks stalled, what hope is there of ending the violence here?
Well, I'm joined now by Aaron David Miller, who's a senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace and a former State Department diplomat who spent years negotiating for peace in the Middle East. Thank you so much for joining us. I wanted to start by asking you about these comments made by both sides in the last 24 hours. Trump saying he's unsatisfied by the progress, an Iranian official warning that renewed fighting was likely. What do you make of where we're at?
I think we're nowhere. I think both sides still believe time is on their side, although I suspect the Iranian clock is ticking much more slowly than Trump's. I think both sides believe they still have an escalatory dimension that they can add to this campaign. And right now, of all the possible outcomes, the blockade causing the Iranian regime to capitulate or become more compliant, an increase in kinetic activity, more military strikes by the United States, or negotiations, those three options, I don't see any of them being seriously tethered to an end to this war. We're now in the third month. This coming week will be the third month of this war, and it shows no signs of what normal humans would regard an end to the conflict.
In terms of the US, do you think that Donald Trump will be under more pressure domestically with these 60 days that he's meant to go to the Congress? He said that he doesn't have to go. Do you think that Republicans are going to start backing out with their support for a war that is not popular with lots of Americans?
Yeah, it's hard to see now. More Republicans are speaking out. Some are threatening to hold hearings, others to force a vote to try to create clarity on where certain members of the House and the Senate stand on these issues. But war powers, even though it imposes a legal obligation, has always been a political issue. And no president, Democratic or Republican, since 1973, since the passage of war powers, has agreed and complied with those terms. And it's largely because in our system, the president, unlike the Supreme Court or the Congress that goes in and out of session, the presidency never goes in and out of session. It has access to intelligence, and the Constitution gives the president extraordinary discretion and leeway with respect to foreign policy. So I don't see war powers being a hindrance. It's usually a tool that the opposing party uses to criticize the administration, or in the case of this one, you will, if the war goes on another month or two, I think you really will begin to see Republicans gin up efforts to try to pressure the administration to stop it.
What's your sense of how long this will potentially go on for and the ramifications that it has for the world economy right now?
You know, the average length of an interstate war since 1815 has been roughly 3 to 4 months. This was begun as a war of choice. Now it is a war of necessity, in large part because the Iranians have weaponized geography, forcing the closure, or at least the a sort of orchestrated effort on who gets through the straits and who doesn't. And the Americans have responded with a net of American destroyers outside the straits to block traffic. I think that the international community, though, may have to get used to the fact that returning the straits to status quo ante, where it represented an international waterway with unfettered access, I think those days may be over. Because I think the Iranians now believe they can use the straits. They don't want them closed, but they can use them for leverage and as a way to orchestrate pressure on the Gulf Straits or the Americans if necessary. So we may be in for a completely different reality if, in fact, this war, or when it does conclude.
And just, I have to briefly ask you while I have you, ceasefire looking increasingly fragile, also on the other front with Israel and Lebanon as well. What hope do you have that that may end soon?
Very little, unless you get a U.S.-Iranian negotiation that's serious and the Iranians begin to demand that the Israelis stand down in Lebanon. I think the president, under those circumstances, would in fact impose an end to Israel's offensive operations in Lebanon. But getting the Israelis and to give up on Hezbollah, or Hezbollah, frankly, to stand down, or the Lebanese government to disarm and forcibly demilitarize Hezbollah, it's a long way off. So I suspect that Lebanon's future is still quite grim when it comes to that Israeli-Hezbollah confrontation.
And one more assessment, actually. This pull-out decision to take 5,000 American troops out of Germany, Italy and Spain could follow. Is this a new low for US-Europe relations? Could it get any lower?
I would argue it is. And the Germans have stepped up, which is the irony here. I mean, why punish the Germans? They're actually trying to remove constraints on military spending. They've ramped up their own. They now represent the largest conventional military in Europe. They're a good ally. This is a function of an impulsive president with a very thin skin who simply can't abide criticism. And Merz fell into this. But again, I think the Europeans also have to demonstrate where they stand on these things. And opposing the Iran war is, I think, important for their own credibility and for European public opinion.
Aaron David Miller, great to have your insights this weekend. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.